Hello, beautiful people of the world. Hello, your boy Alex. Hello, Alex Shim. Hello, Captain M90s. What's up, everybody? Did you like that stream I just did with my father on his channel? What'd you guys think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. How's everyone doing tonight? Hey, Alex Blanco, how are you? If this is your first time, Aaron loved it. Captain M90s liked the stream too. Okay, good. If this is your first time on my stream, just know, it's a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more casual. It's not political focused. Mike Langshaw said the stream was great. If you don't know who my dad is, he has his own channel, Alan Lickman YouTube. After he streams, sometimes I stream. Actually, so far, since I've started streaming, I stream always after he streams. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything that's on your mind, anything you want to talk about, just let me know. Captain M90 says, I'm worried about a tie in the Electoral College. I try not to talk about politics too much here, but I'm not that worried about that. The chances of that happening just statistically are so slim that I don't think it needs to keep you up at night. Is it possible? Of course it's possible, right? But I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't stay up worrying about it if I was you. Pamela Mayer says, always enjoy your father's stream. This is my first time listening to you. Well, welcome, Pamela. I appreciate you hopping over to my stream. Mike Langshaw says, we need to get your dad on Cameo. That's actually not a terrible idea. I wonder how he would do on Cameo. What do you think people would want him to say? Like, if you were to get a cameo from my dad, what would you want him to say? Aaron says, you look so much like your dad, exactly like him. Do I? Most people say I look like my mom, actually. Starries, welcome. Terry Green says, hey, Sam, you seem to have a great relationship with your dad. Was he strict or easygoing growing up? I do have a very good relationship with my dad. I have a good relationship with both of my parents. My dad is not strict at all. He's very easygoing. He's sort of that absent-minded professor, right? So it's like he didn't really care what I did or when I did it, or he was pretty damn easygoing. Mike Langshaw says, I would say what is his prediction is for someone. Oh, I see. Like, hey, Alan, can you give a prediction of if my son's going to make his baseball team on Cameo? That would be funny. Have you looked at Bannerlord? What is Bannerlord? I don't know what that is. I can see your dad make some dad jokes on Cameo. That is true. I could definitely see him making dad jokes on Cameo. Bannerlord the game? No, I don't know what that is. Let me look it up real quick. Plug my computer in. All right, more people are saying they liked my dad's stream, so that's good. Sorry, give me a second. I need to get my my monitor up and running. I forgot to turn it on. It's sometimes hard to jump from my dad's stream to this stream sometimes, so give me some grace, people. Here we go. One second. There we are. Bannerlord. It's got a 9 out of 10. Okay, this is a pretty highly rated game. I will check it out, and I think I will try to play it. What is it on? Xbox. Okay, I have an Xbox, so I'll play it there. Nice. I'll definitely check it out. Let's see. Alex Shim says, did I do something wrong? I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't think so. What are you referring to? Um, Notezert, hello, how are you? Sam, how is Cali? What do you like most living there? Do you miss home? I'm really loving California. I feel like it's really this place for me. Like I feel like it's got the right vibe, it's got the right people, it's got the right industry. You know, I work in media and communications. I don't really miss home. I miss my friends and family. That's what I miss most about home. Disco, do you get a lot of attention since your dad is well known? Um, Not really. Like there's a lot of steps that have to happen before someone knows who my dad is and then connects it to me. Like they have to know me, then they have to know my last name, and they have to connect my last name to his, and then they have to know who he is, and then they can be like, "Wait, is your dad Alan Lichtman?" Like it doesn't happen super often. It has happened and does happen, but not super often. What do you know about New Zealand? Would you like to visit someday? Paul asks. I've been to New Zealand, Paul. I was 5 years old, so I only remember bits and parts of it. My parents always say that I wanted to go home the entire time, but I was also 5 years old, so cut me some slack. But from what I remember, it was beautiful, and I would love to go back someday. Jeremy Matamales says, I'm a government teacher. I have been an admirer of your dad for years. I love that you and your dad have found this niche. Also, make your make your bed. I am subscribed, and as a dad, I can't stand to see that. I'm anti making the bed, man. I'm gonna be there in a few hours. Like, what do I need to make it? You know what I mean? What is your prediction on college football playoffs, and what are your thoughts? College football playoffs, I think it's great. They keep expanding. I think it's only going to make college football better. You don't have to literally win every single game without a single loss to make a playoff game. The bowl system was outdated. I don't really know who's good coming into this year. I haven't started looking to college football yet. Mostly been following NBA and just now starting to get into college basketball a little bit since March Madness is coming up. Have you heard of the game show We Are Family, where the audience guesses a famous person based on their relative on stage? You and Alan should go on that show together. I think I have seen like commercials for that or something. I don't know if my dad is famous enough for just a stranger in the audience to be like, that's Alan Lichtman's son. Because from what I've seen, it's like A-list actors and singers, like just people who are more generally known. Any picks for March Madness this year? Not now. I mean, I know UConn is number one. I kind of like UConn. I know Purdue is pretty good. I like Purdue. But I want to wait a little bit until I see the bracket before I pick any favorites. Alan should go on Masked Singer. Do you guys realize how bad of a singer that dude is? Like he is a terrible singer. Like god awful singer. See you later, Alex Shem. My dad likes to say that he was a designated listener in high school. How about MLS? Do you watch that? Especially Messi is now. Yeah, I don't watch MLS. I've never really gotten to MLS. I do like soccer, but I watch mostly Premier League. I watch my favorite team's Tottenham. But my roommate I don't know if you can hear him, but he's been watching the Inter game, and he's a huge Messi fan. He's Argentinian. He has a Messi tattoo on his like ankle or something. So he's been watching. I've been hearing him. Ronaldo's better than Messi? No World Cups. In the Premier League, I root for Tottenham. That's my team. I used to be a really big Harry Kane fan, and Son, so they just brought me on to be Tottenham. I know Harry's gone now, but I still root for Tottenham. You know what's funny is Kevin says Inter Milan just won their opening MLS match. I could tell because I could hear my roommate yelling and being excited because he's a giant Messi fan and by proxy now a giant Inter Miami fan. It's crazy that freaking Messi plays for Inter Miami. Like I still feel like he could be a top-notch footballer in Europe, but seems like all these greats are coming to the U.S. to play once they, he's obviously not at his peak anymore, but once they breach that peak, they seem to come to the U.S., which is like, but weirdly, it hasn't really seemed to help the MLS that much. I mean, it's helped a lot, right? I mean, Messi in Miami has helped a lot, but like Beckham came to the U.S. Who's the man United? Wayne Rooney came to the U.S. It's like the MLS is still pretty low on the totem pole. It hasn't seemed to help a ton. Kevin roots for Chelsea. No Chelsea. We don't like Chelsea around here. Cardio Bull says, I played a lot of soccer in my childhood. I feel like every European city has at least one soccer field. I feel like every American city has a basketball court. And that's why we love basketball here. Imagine if Allen found a way to make the keys for the MLB, NBA, NFL, and NFL winning teams each year. Yeah, I've encouraged him to do so. He's just too busy. He just can't. He can't find the time or energy to actually do that. Do you prefer game in a gunpowder era or pre-gunpowder era? I'm assuming you mean video games. Probably gunpowder era. Probably. Have I ever watched rugby? I have. I've never gotten super into it. I like it every time I watch it, and when I played it here and there, I always enjoy it. But it's hard to get matches on TV in the U.S. and the times are all at weird times because they play in South Africa and Australia, and they're on at 3 a.m. So it's hard to. I don't know if other U.S. people agree, but it's hard to. I don't even know when rugby's on TV. I would have to plan ahead, and I don't have any teams I like, and when the World Cup or the bigger tournaments are on, I root for the U.S., but they're not very good. So, how do you know which team will win? What do you mean? What are you talking about? One thing Messi has helped is Apple, since they have all the rights to the MLS for 10 years. That is true. My roommate did just mention to me that Apple was running the MLS this year, which is probably for the best. I don't know. It's hard to gauge the media landscape right now because it's so frazzled and fractured. It's like some stuff is still on television. Some of the rights are only on television. Some of the rights have now shifted to only streaming. Some are, I'll be curious to see how sports, and I know Disney and I think Fox just signed this big media deal to have all of their sports streaming now. Generally, I'm in favor of that. But for example, I don't have Apple TV, so I'm not going to watch MLS basically. If it was on before on TV or something, I could catch it, but now I'm not going to be able to catch it. Go Wrexham. Mike Langshaw says, sure, go Wrexham. I haven't watched the series. I'd rather call it football, to be honest. You use your feet to kick the ball. That is true. I'm one. There is a reason why it's called football in America. Let me see. I'm going to try to look that up. Why do they call American football? It says it's slightly unclear, but many historians say the term dates back to the late Middle Ages when it was used to refer to any sport that was played on foot as opposed to sports played on horseback. Is that true? Huh, seems so. I never knew that. When the elites were playing, it's we either play on foot or we play on horseback. There's no in between. And every sport that's played on foot is now called football. I do agree, generally speaking, that it makes more sense to call soccer football. But in America, you just got to deal with it. You just got to call it soccer, or no one's going to know what the hell you're talking about. Ouch, right in the heart with the Chelsea comment. The reason I root for them is because I used to stay in that area a lot when I visited London. No worries. It's funny. I met these, I like to hike around LA, and I met these British dudes, and we were like hitting it off. We were like really becoming friendly, and we did the whole hike together. At the very end, they were like, do you watch any Premier League? And I'm like, yeah, I actually do. I like the Premier League. And they're like, who's your team? And I was like, Tottenham. And they're like, oh shit. And I was like, what? I was like, don't tell me you're Arsenal fans. And they're like, we're Arsenal fans. And I was like, uh-oh. And they're like, it was going so well until you said you were a Tottenham fan. So, but I don't take soccer rivalries that seriously. I mean, it's all the way in the UK. Who gives a f, right? I think the best solution is to have commercial-free streaming of games you can pay for, but still keep games on TV with commercial breaks. I think that's a good idea. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Sam, did you say you have a roommate? What is it like living with a roommate? I do have a roommate. I like living with a roommate. Gives you good company, splits all the bills. I like it. What are the rental costs like in LA? LA is very expensive to live in. There's no doubt. I came here from DC, which is just as expensive. So it wasn't that big of a shock to me. But if you're not coming from like, a major city, coming here is definitely going to be a bit of a shock to your system because the cost of living and the rent is very high. But if you're coming from New York or DC or Philly or Boston or Miami, Chicago, Dallas, any major U.S. city, it's all pretty comparable at this point. They're all expensive as all get out and everything's overpriced. But that's just the affordability crisis we have in America. Cartier Bull says, I watched Super Bowl before the first time and found the ads very annoying. When you watch soccer World Cup, there are very few commercials. That is true. Football is riddled with commercials. That's because there's so many pauses in the action, so they can insert commercials at many different points. Soccer, there's no real pause, so they can't do that. I guess I've just gotten used to it because I grew up in the U.S. I grew up watching American football. But I sometimes when I watch like a tennis match or soccer, something that's more of a constant, steady play, I'm like, God, this is so nice not having to break for commercials every second. But then on the other hand, you get commercial, you get stuff on the sides and on the fields, advertising everywhere constantly in your vision. But I guess I will agree that is less annoying than stopping the game and going to a commercial break. UK words versus US words are so different. I agree with that. I first went to the UK when I was like 18 years old. 18 years old. And when I first went there as an 18-year-old, I was literally like when I first got there the first week or so, I had no idea. They call everything quid, right? For example, like that's 12 quid. I had to be my friend like, what's quid? There are so many terms I use that I just had no idea. I felt like every 3 seconds I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Kevin says, I'm from Atlanta, which is a MCOL area, and LA is really expensive. What is MCOL? What does that mean? Captain M90 says, pre-Gunpowder era settings are boring. But Bannerlord is the exception. You start as a lone noble and fight quests, but later have the ability to raise an army and eventually conquer lands and be a king. That sounds fun. Don't get me wrong. There are definitely like Mario, Zelda. Those are my favorite games, and I don't need weapons in games. In fact, sometimes I feel like games get way too violent. But there are plenty of games I like that are non-weaponry, non-gun related games. One of my favorite games growing up was Skyrim, all the Zelda games, all the Marios with Luigi's Mansion. I love sports games, Madden, 2K, FIFA. British band you'd like to see the most? Like I have to be able to see them. Like they can't be either have deceased members or no longer together. Like it has to be a current together band. MCOL stands for middle cost of living. Is Atlanta middle cost of living? I mean, I'm sure it's more affordable than New York, LA, Chicago, San Diego, etc. But I'll take your word for it. Apparently, Atlanta's middle cost of living. I've been interested in Atlanta, but now that I'm in LA and I'm liking it, I don't think I would do it. But never say never. Sam, since your dad is well connected, have you met any politicians in person, any presidents? That's a good question. Not really, no. Have I met any? I haven't. I have been in a room with Obama, but that was related to an internship I had, so it had nothing to do with my dad. I haven't met any of the presidents. I don't think I've met a senator. Jamie Raskin I know, but he was a family friend before he was even in politics, so not really. Sometimes I go with him to like interviews, like if he has an interview with CNN or NBC. So like I'll go with him, and there I'll meet like media personalities, like, or like run into sort of talking heads that are on TV a lot. Was I popular in high school? How do you answer that question without either sounding like a douche or sounding like, oh no, like sounding like discriminated against? Maybe if any of my friends come on the stream ever, they can answer that. Current British band that I want to see live. So I've seen U2 live. I've seen Muse live. I think they're both, U2's Irish. Muse is British. I've seen the Gorillaz, which I really liked. Probably this band called Wet Leg. I really like them. They're not like super popular, but I really like their music. I was trying to see them back in DC, but they were sold out, so I couldn't see them. What are your thoughts on the student debt crisis? I think that college and universities are too expensive. I think it's absurd how much you have to pay to get an education in this country. I think there should be more subsidies given to reduce those costs. That's what I think about it. In terms of paying people's debt back, I am for it. I do think that there is an argument to be had that like people who chose not to go to college are now paying the debt of people who chose to go. I hear that. Like, you know, why should a trucker pay for a psychology major's student debt? But I also think that the student debt is brought on by our society. Like, a lot of people are kind of put in the position where it's like, you got to go to college. You got to go to college. If you want a successful life, you got to go to college. They're like, okay, I'll go. And then they're left with this tremendous amount of debt. So it's like, I sort of feel like solving the debt crisis on the other end, and when I mean other end, I mean paying off people's debt, is sort of a band-aid and has problems. I would rather see our government put more time and effort to fixing the root of the issue, which is the initial cost of college. Jamie Smith says, wow, I've met more presidents than you. Guess you have, Jamie. Who have you met? Starry says, I met my last U.S. House member, and I've met my last 3 mayors and my city council. There you go. You guys have met. I've also met Chris Van Hollen because my mom used to work on his campaign. He's a senator. And Ben Cardin because my dad ran against him in 2006. If you don't know that, my dad ran for U.S. Senate in 2006. Stones are still touring. Jagger and Richards are 80. Still can't believe it. I can't believe that either. I don't know if I'd want to see them live. I feel like it's kind of past their, like they're past their prime. I don't know if a live show from them would be that good. Although I did see the Eagles live like in 2015. So before Glenn Fry died, but they were all still pretty old, and it was a good show actually. So I don't know, maybe I take that back. But like, I don't know. I like the Rolling Stones. I'm not like a diehard Rolling Stones fan. Sam, you mentioned CNN. You've been there. Have you met John King or Wolf Blitzer? I have met Wolf Blitzer. I don't remember meeting John King. I need to impress your dad now and bring up his U.S. Senate race. You know what? I have something to show you guys. Hold on. I wonder if I can still find it. Speaking of my dad's U.S. Senate run. Let's see. So he had a commercial. Here it is. Oh, man. Oh, geez.
Hi, I'm Alan Lick.
Wait, I need to get the sound. Where is it?
Your Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate in Maryland. Today, there's too much government intruding in our private lives and too little government meeting our needs. You could send a conventional politician to the Senate, and it'll be like throwing a pebble on a pond. A little bit of a ripple, and nothing will change. Or let's make a big splash and together change Washington. I'm Alan Lichtman, and I approve this message.
Dude jumped into a pond for his U.S. Senate race, and he lost. Can you believe that? People saw this mofo jumping into a pond and didn't vote for him. That's crazy. What are your personal thoughts on the 13 keys? Do you ever sometimes think they could one day be wrong? I mean, I think the 13 keys are about as good of a system as you can possibly make for a prediction. Sure, anything could be wrong. But if they're wrong, I mean, his track record is still pretty good, so it's not a big deal. And I still think they have merit, even if they are wrong. Riley P says, Eagles are my favorite band. I've seen Eagles 5 times, never with Fry. His son is really good and is in the band. I hope after the Eagles he has a career. Yeah, I've heard his son is really good. I haven't seen them with his son yet. Community college is living proof that education can be offered at a responsible price. Not sure why universities rip people off. I agree, but community colleges are too... For example, Harvard has some of the greatest minds on the planet, right? I'm not saying community college professors aren't smart, but they don't warrant the same amount of pay or prestige that a lot of these other colleges need to provide these high-level intellectual academic people. I'm surprised no one reacted to that commercial. Not a single comment about that commercial. Nobody thought that was funny that my dad jumped into a freaking pond. I guess not. Can you name any New Zealand bands? I'm not sure. I think most of these are Australian, but I do like some down under bands like Middle Kids. I really like that band. The Beths. I really like that band. Courtney Barnett. I really like her. But I think all those folks are Aussie. But maybe you can tell me, Paul. Starzy says he should have finished the keys to the Senate and ran with accuracy knowing he would win. I think his thing was like he didn't need it. You know, he already had the keys. He already had something to run with there. He didn't need to put all the time and effort into the keys to the Senate where he would be like maybe sometimes right, you know? What are some indie bands that I like? Well, all those Australian bands I really like. Blonde Shell. Someone told me they actually listened to Blonde Shell, which is really good. The Best is New Zealand. Okay, there you go. I saw The Best live, and they were really good. Mike Langshaw says, Sam, thanks again for helping your dad on my super chat question. You got my question right about what key he would add when he first made the keys in the 80s. Is there a key you would add now? Nah, man, I'm not tinkering with a system that ain't broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not adding nothing. I want to ask your dad this. Eventually, minorities will overtake whites in population. I think then the keys may change because there will be more Democrats. He always says the same thing. He always says, at this point, they said, you need to change your keys because this is the first black president. You need to change your keys because Trump is unprecedented. You need to change your keys because... He always says, keys aren't changing. Times change, keys aren't changing. Starry says, I like the independent New Zealand artist Kaylee Bell. I have to check them out. Owen Vadala says, I do research on community colleges at UPenn. The main issue with community colleges is the low rate of completion / graduation rates. What you're talking about, but when you finish community college, you only get an associate's. So you're talking about people don't even get their associates? Or you're talking about they don't get a full degree? But because that seems obvious. Obviously, they don't get a full degree. But are you saying they don't even get their associates? That commercial of your dad was good. Did he really jump into the lake himself, or is that a camera trick? He really jumped into the lake himself. Owen Vidal says, yes, most do not finish. Okay, well, if most don't get their associates, that is an issue. Whatever happened to, I remember in like 2014, Obama made like all community colleges free. Did that stick or did that not stick? I can't remember. Starry says the only potential flaw with the keys is an odd number of keys as guarantees the challenger will get 6 or the incumbent will get 8 and doesn't count for an electoral college tie. Okay, that's a fair criticism. What's an associate's? An associate's degree? That's like a degree you get when you finish community college, which then allows you to transfer to a 4-year school where you can get your full degree. Janet Persnet says, my first time seeing your channel. Looking forward to hearing more. Thank you, Janet. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you sub. Make sure you like. Riley P says, in terms of minorities taking over and changing the keys, and I said, keys ain't going to change. They say, good point, but I do not think the Republicans will win the popular vote for a long time. I think that's a possibility. Jamie Smith says, community colleges were never free. I swear there was some point in like 2014, because I was working in journalism. I remember reporting on it that Obama had signed some executive order or something about making community colleges free. Am I tripping? Let me see. Let me look this up. Obama community colleges free. America's Promise was a proposal by the Barack Obama administration to offer all students 2 free-year community college tuition. It was based on the Tennessee Promise, a similar program for the state of Tennessee. See? It did happen. The bill was referred to committee in July 2015, where it languished. Later that year, Obama announced the College Promise Advisory Board, an independent coalition of American leaders in community college, blah, 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 to advocate for the proposal. A criticism of the plan was that it lacked focus on existing student loan debt. Senator Tammy Baldwin and Representative Andy Levine reintroduced the bill in 2019. So I guess it just never went through. That sucks. But it did happen. See, I told you, there was at some point some sort of Obama-led free college thing. Owen Vidal says, if the 13 keys did not exist, who would you predict to win this election? My prediction is Biden is going to win. Just my own personal prediction. Nothing to do with the keys. The keys haven't been called yet. I do not think Trump can win an election in this country anymore. I just don't think. After January 6th, I just don't think he can win an election in this country. Sam, what new I told you, I was like, I know politics, but I'm talking about politics. Sam, what new constitutional amendment would you add today? I would add an amendment that somehow got big money out of politics. Something that would reverse Citizens United in some sort of way. Some amendment that would guarantee a fairer election process in terms of donations and money and lobbying. Jamie Smith says, well, I work for community college. I never heard this being free. Well, it's not free, but there was, as we just saw, there was a proposal by the Obama administration to make it free, but it never just languished, I guess, in the House and never saw the light of day. That sucks because I feel like that's a good bill. But I still think even with that, it doesn't solve the issue of expensive four-year colleges, because even state tuition now is getting high, and private tuition is out the wazoo, and obviously you don't have going to a private school is a choice. There's no doubt going to a private school is a choice, but I still think it needs to be more affordable for sure. We got 15 people in the chat. What's up, all 15 people? Only 12 likes, so that means maybe 3 of you haven't liked the stream. Star said, you should do regular streams after Alan's streams and call them Lichtman Overtime. That's a good idea. So I had already sort of, in myself, decided I was going to do streams after my dad's stream. But Lichtman Overtime is a good name. I like that name idea. I have to find a balance because I don't want my streams to be overly political, because I am not super interested in politics. I have a lot different interests, but I do care about social and economic issues. So it's hard to remove that from politics sometimes, right? Owen Vidala says, what is your dream career? My dream career is either to be a film director, make media in some sort of sense, or just to be an entertainer like I'm doing now. Not an actor, but I do like entertaining people. I do like bringing laughter, comedy, discussion into people's lives. So I kind of like doing this, Janet says, about the getting money out of politics watch. Watch The Big Buy, Tom DeLay's Stolen Congress. Back in the day, my parents were involved with some of that Tom DeLay stuff, especially I'm not 100% sure. I think they both were, honestly. Jamie Smith says he gave the stream a like. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thoughts on the Office reboot rumor? So I like The Office. Don't get me wrong. I like The Office. I am not like an Office super fan. So I don't really care. And I also feel with reboots in general, sequels, reboots, franchises, let's come up with some new ideas. That's my sort of overall take on that. So it's like the Office reboot, why don't you just make a new show, NBC? Like, put your resources into making a new show. Now, obviously, the business side of it, they're going to make millions of dollars and et cetera, et cetera. So I understand from a business perspective why they want to reboot it. But from a consumer perspective, I would like a new show. What is my current job? I work in media and communications. But I don't really want to say where. I just don't really want to put that out there. Did I ever have braces? No, but I did have retainers and Invisalign. If I start making money from this channel, maybe I'll get some new Invisalign, but I can't afford them right now. But my bottom teeth are a little crooked. But I did have Invisalign for a couple of years. If you get into Hollywood, you should make a movie called The 13 Keys to Alan Lichtman about the life of your dad and the 13 things that had the biggest impact on his life. That's a good idea. I have thought about writing or doing some sort of film or something about my dad. Who are my favorite YouTubers? Sorry, so Aaron's question distracted me. Whose teeth do you have? Oh, in terms of my parents? Probably my mom's. All right, who are my favorite YouTubers? My favorite YouTubers are Ethan Klein, H3. The Anime Man, who's a Japanese pop culture streamer. Sea-Dog VA, abroad in Japan. Ludwig. I like watching a lot of comedy podcasts on YouTube, like Bad Friends, which is Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino's podcast. Who will be the next 13 Keys predictor? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't have the background for it, honestly. I didn't study history. I didn't study statistics. I didn't study poli-sci. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe one of you guys. Owen says, I love H3, been a fan since like 2014. Do you prefer his old or new content? I like both. I like both his old and new content. I don't really have a preference. They're just very different. It's like, what do you want? Ice cream or cake this evening? It's like, this evening I want cake, and tomorrow I might want ice cream. Any thoughts on cryptocurrency? Not really. Not particularly. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Mike Langshaw says, I agree with Starries on creating a movie about your dad or behind the scenes on how he does it. Is there a war room he sits down and comes down to the final decision? No, there's no war room. My dad is a very informal person. It's funny. I don't remember what year this was, maybe 2016. We had been hit up by this production company called Anonymous Media. They've done some big stuff, and they wanted us to write something sort of based on like some sort of Washington Insider TV show. And there were two characters, like a woman who worked at the government and then like her old professor, and the old professor character was going to be based off my dad. And we wrote a whole treatment for it, but they never picked it up. So, but eventually, yeah. Have I ever watched House of Cards? Yes, of course I've watched House of Cards. Although I'm not the biggest fan of House of Cards. I find it a little like over the top, a little kitschy. Don't wait too long if you really think about writing something about your dad. Get info as soon as you can. We are not promised tomorrow, just a thought. Yeah, I mean, I certainly know, my dad's older, but he's also in great shape. But, we also do talk a lot. We do talk a lot, and, I pick his brain, and yeah, that's a good idea. I'll pick his brain more and see what comes to mind. Do you wish you studied it to become the next Alan? I guess he means, do I wish I studied history or poli? No, I'm not interested in, again, I am interested in like economics and society and philosophy and stuff like that, but politics has never really interested me. I find it slimy. I find it depressing in some sort of way. I find it boring sometimes and uninteresting. But that's just politics. I do find the issues that politics try to tackle interesting, but I find that politicians tackle these issues like dumbasses. So it's like, I'm not very interested in it. Was your dad upset when he found out you didn't share his hobbies? Not at all. Both of my parents have always been super supportive of my own stuff. I don't know if he ever really thought that deeply about like who's gonna take the reins. I think now he's starting to think about that. But when I was growing up, I don't think he really thought much about that. What types of slimes do you like the most? if slimes would be real, then would you have one as a pet? What the hell kind of question is that, bro? I didn't even know there was categories of slimes. I don't know what that means. The only slime pet I can think of is Blubber, that Robin Williams movie. That was a pretty sick pet, honestly. That was a weird question, Cardio Bull. Give me some types of slimes. When I used to watch Nickelodeon, I used to like when they slime people. That was cool. That's a strange question. Cardio Bull has gone silent. He's not backing up his types of slimes. Did you go to grad school or thoughts on grad school? I did go to grad school. So I got a MFA, which is a Master's of Fine Arts in Film and Media. My thoughts on grad school is it's expensive. And if you're gonna struggle to afford it, don't do it. I think also the field of what you're talking about varies very differently. Like obviously, if you want to be a lawyer, you have to go to grad school. If you want to be a doctor, you have to go to postgraduate school. You know, if you want to work in politics or, you know, media or communications, or you don't need it. Again, if you can afford it, I think it definitely helps. There's no doubt. I think grad school made me a much better person, thinker, intellectual, media person, etc. That's because I didn't pay for undergraduate because I went to American. I made that choice and I got a fellowship to grad school. So it's like, you know, it made financial sense for me. But if it doesn't make financial sense to you and your field doesn't require it, I would say it's not worth it. I've never done an MBA. I have some friends who have done MBAs, so I can't speak about that. That's sort of like one that's in the middle. It's like you don't need an MBA, but it also like really helps in business, but also like business is a lot of people who don't even go to school make it in business. So it's like, it's hard to say. Mike Langshaw retracted their message. Jamie Smith says, Cardio, did you forget your medications? Let's not beat people down or make fun of people. Well, we can, but nicely. Let's not talk about medications, okay? Owen, do you have a specific grad school field that you're thinking about going into? I might be able to give better advice then. Paul says, what's American? American University. That's where I went to college. That's where my dad teaches. It's in D.C. Washington, D.C., to be precise. My college choosing process was strange because basically I applied to 5 schools. I applied to USC, Boston University, Pitt, Syracuse, AU. And American had a sister program, so like basically a tuition remission program where it's like there was a list of schools that I could switch my tuition from American to there and still go there for free. But I didn't get into USC, so and all these schools were on that list. But I didn't get into USC. I got into BU, which was my top choice was USC. I didn't get in. My next top choice was BU, which I got into, but I didn't get the tuition remission for. So I had to pay full $55,000 for tuition. And then I got into and also got tuition remission for University of Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and American. And I really want to go to BU, but it just didn't make financial sense. And then I went and visited Pittsburgh, and I didn't really like it. And then I think even in my high school yearbook, it says I'm going to Syracuse. So I was like, I'm going to go to Syracuse. There's no shot I'm going to American. I live 25 minutes away. My dad teaches there. I'm not going. But then I went to visit Syracuse just to make sure. I just really didn't like it. And maybe I made a mistake because everybody who went to Syracuse that I know loved it. But I came back to DC and This was like late April, early May, and it had been snowing in Syracuse, and it was cold, and it was miserable. And I came back to DC, and it was like beautiful, like early May day. And I was like, Mom, let's go to AU. Let's just drive through. And it was like the perfect day to go AU. It was literally like May 1st. Like I was supposed to make a decision May 5th or something, like 5 days later. And we drive through AU, we walk through the main quad, and it's like everybody's out having a good time. It's a beautiful spring day. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to AU. And so I went. What made me like fine arts? That's a good question, because growing up, I was super into sports. And like middle school, high school, I don't think anybody would have ever seen me going into the arts. But actually this is funny, my junior going into senior year of high school, I ran for student government. So like student government of the whole school. And I won. I was like the secretary. We had like a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary. I was like the secretary or something. And at my school, part of the job over the summer between your junior and senior year, before you start your role as a student government person your senior year, was to make a homecoming movie. And like it's like this silly little comedy movie that every year the SGA officers do, and they premiere it the day of homecoming, and the whole school watches it. And that summer we started making the movie, and I just fell in love with the process, and I was like, wait, maybe I should pursue this. And I started to pursue it after that, and the rest is history. Did I live in the campus dorms? I did live in the campus dorms. Yep. Starry says, every news channel should simulcast Alan when he calls the keys later this year. Is that it's that big of a deal? He's going to get a ton of media coverage. I mean, don't you worry. My mom says, I will remind you, it was not free. Tuition was free. Right. Room and board you still had to pay for. But that's a lot of money. Tuition is like $30,000, if not more. It's a lot of money to get for free. I was very blessed. Owen Vidal says, I'm already in grad school for ed policy / higher education. I went to Columbia and UPenn for both masters. I would say it was worth it only if it's very affordable / paid for by your employer in my case. Yeah, I agree. It has to make sense financially. If it doesn't make sense financially, you could be in a big world of trouble. Paul says, why is American free? Because my dad teaches there, and when you have a mother or father teach at a university, their children get free tuition. So I was super lucky to get that, and I took advantage of it. I could have not. I could have gone somewhere else and paid, but I just felt like it didn't make any sense to do that. I didn't love American, but I didn't hate it either. And I think financially it was the right decision. I mean, I could have gone to Syracuse or Pitt for free too. Who knows what my life would have been like then? No way to ever know. Growing up, I loved Penn State, so I always kind of wanted to go to Penn State, but it wasn't on the tuition remission list, so I couldn't go there for free. So Owen says, working in higher ed is a great idea because of the benefits. Tuition remission for children, yourself, spouse. I agree. The issue is getting a job in it. I mean, especially now, it's really hard to get a job in higher ed. I tried for a while because I have an MFA, which allows you to teach in higher education. You used to teach a course in, communications or the arts or something like that. And I tried, and it's really hard to get a job. And the issue is a lot of young people trying to become professors, they get hired as adjuncts, they get paid dog shit, they have to work the worst hours and the worst classes, and they have to work at like multiple universities even to get by. And then even then, you're not even guaranteed to get hired, and even then, you're not guaranteed to get hired onto a tuition track. It's tough. Have you ever been a fan of wrestling? No, I've never been a fan of wrestling. I do enjoy mixed martial arts and boxing, though. I watch UFC and boxing a lot. I started boxing maybe, when was that? 6 years ago. And I've been doing Muay Thai for maybe 2 years and like dabbled into jiu-jitsu a little bit. But I'll tell you what, jiu-jitsu, man, is hard. Jiu-jitsu it's really all mental. It's all technique. Owen Vadala says, I applied to 65 jobs at UPenn until I got one offer. It's a grind. Yeah. There's no doubt. It's not like my dad's era where he went straight from PhD right into a professorship. It just doesn't work like that anymore. There are too many people who have higher ed degrees, right? Such is life. And teaching is not easy either. People, I mean, once you get in the flow of things, once you get tenure, then it's pretty easy. But at first, you really got to prove yourself. You know, every day you got to stand in front of this class and prove yourself that you're worthy of one day becoming a full professor and getting tenure. So I found I taught for one semester, my last semester of grad school, and it really stressed me out. Going straight to work and skipping college is an underrated option. I don't disagree with that. I think as long as you have a clear vision and a clear plan about how to make that happen, I think it's doable. I know a lot of people who do that and are successful. I think the issue with it is that you don't have a safety net. That's the big issue. If you decide to go straight to work, something happens, you get fired, you get off track in your career, you could find yourself in a bad position. You know, the thing with a college degree is if those things happen to you, at the end of the day, you still have your college degree to go shop around. You know, you have a resume with a college degree on it. Why did I say it like that? On it. But yeah, I think, especially in this day and age with the internet and technology, I think a lot of people who are smart and savvy and have a good drive can certainly make it without going to college. I heard that a lot of coders who work for the biggest companies come straight out of high school because they're so good and smart and dedicated. They don't need to go to college. And a lot of the computer science programs in colleges don't even teach you how to code anyways. So they're better at high school. They're coming out of high school, they're better if they know coding than if you don't know coding and go through 4 years of computer science. So what's my opinion of AI? Do I think AI is taking over jobs as an issue? I think so far what I've seen from AI seems to be a freaking great tool. The downside, it is going to take jobs. There's no doubt. How do you progress as a society, embrace technology, and also keep away from having an unemployed class that is 20, 30% high? That's the big issue, in my opinion. How was it like working for Obama with your internship at the White House? To be clear, I had an internship at this place called Center for American Progress, which was a think tank in DC. And we would go to events at the White House, and one of them was about, I think it was about student debt. And he had a bunch of us like stand behind him and be in the room while he gave his speech on student debt. So my internship wasn't at the White House explicitly, but that internship was great. If you have kids or if you are young, getting an internship in DC in college or even high school is an amazing experience. Obviously, especially if you want to work in government or politics or something like that. But even if you don't, I mean, I didn't. I worked in their communications department. It was a great experience. Are taxes high in LA? Yeah, taxes are very high in California. Extremely high. It's an issue for sure. I think a lot of Californians and a lot of people have left California because of the high taxes. And, you know, I think there's an argument to be had there. What days/times will you be broadcasting? So whenever my dad goes live, which is usually Thursdays, today we had to do Wednesday because of a scheduling issue. But so I'll go live after his stream on Thursdays, and then I don't really have a schedule. On weekdays, I'll be live after 6 p.m. And then weekends, I don't really know. Thoughts on Philly? I've lived here, and it kind of sucks, to be honest. I've been to Philly twice. Didn't love it. I don't think I would live there personally. I know kids who grew up in Philly, and they love Philly. But also, none of them still live in Philly. So that should be a sign, right? Like, they live in other cities, not Philadelphia. But I've only been there twice, and from what I experienced when I was there, I didn't love it. But maybe some people do. I don't know. Jamie Smith says, Philly isn't that bad. Okay. To each their own. Some people love Philly, some people don't. Some people don't like LA at all. I love LA. Some people don't like LA. Just, it's personal taste, personal preferences, just about your life, man. All right. I think with that, I've been going for an hour here. I think with that, I'm going to sign off. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to go get some food, chill out for the rest of the night. But thank you all for watching. This was a cool stream. 16 of you still watching. I appreciate that. If you're not subbed yet, make sure you sub. Make sure you like. Owen says, good stream, man. Thank you. Jamie Smith says, see ya. See ya, Jamie. All right, y'all. Have a good night and take care.